Hey, how's it going, everybody? By now you've probably seen the video of me shooting these crows. So now what I'm going to do is essentially catch, cook, clean, except for maybe shoot, saute, and something else. But I'm going to go ahead and clean these crows. If you've never been crow hunting before, if you like turkey hunting, it's kind of an offensive hunt. It's pretty fun. It requires a little strategy. Crows are super smart, so they don't just... Sometimes you get lucky and they just come right in. Other times they'll send a scout in and check things out. But I got really lucky in this case. I set up where, you know, there's going to be a windbreak, and then they had to come over trees, and there's no way they would have seen me until they were right on top of me. So I ended up getting 7 crows. I recovered 6 of them. The 7th one was stuck up in a tree, and I could not get him out. And you know, unfortunately, that property where I hunt, I can't do anything to the pine tree. So something's going to enjoy them. Maybe cattle climb up there and get them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean these things. If you've ever cleaned a dove, or I'll compare these to probably a wood duck. If you're going to breast them out, treat it the same way as you would like a wood duck, and that's how it's going to work. So let me go ahead and change this camera angle real quick so I can get you on top of it so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, well, sorry about that. So here's some breast from the crow. I thought I was recording, but apparently I've just been having a good time doing an instructional video without recording. So let's go ahead and do that again. So let me go ahead and show you how I do it. All right, so crows are, you know, pretty similar to like a wood duck. The only thing is their feathers are a little tougher, you know, getting out. Their skin's a little tougher, which is nice when you're breasting them out. So what I normally do is I don't take all the feathers off. I just get enough to where I can get down to that skin and see it. Essentially, so I can start working my way down that, you know, that breastbone. As you can hear, you know, a little tougher to get those feathers off than like a wood duck, but I'll show you the meat once I get it out, and it's hard to tell the difference. But it's not much different in size. You know, maybe like a buffalo head, or actually it's probably bigger than a buffalo head, but good sized breast meat. So. There's no limit on how many crows you can shoot. We got so many of them. Alright, so let me go ahead and show you what I'm doing. I'm not going to take all this out because you don't really need to. And you know, I'm going to rinse all this meat, so all these little feathers that are going to stick to it, it's going to come off. Alright, so just like any other bird that you're cleaning, you essentially trace the bone lines. So you got your breastbone right here, and it kind of almost works like a wishbone up in here, a little Y. But I'll show you the advantage of crow. So the skin's pretty tough on a crow. So you can work your way down the line, make your small cut like that, and you could take this skin right here, get them feathers out of the way, and you can just peel it right, you know, peel it right on back to get to the rest of that meat. Look at that. So it just popped right out like good clean breast meat. Almost like, you know, if you're breasting out a turkey. You just pull that all the way down. Again, I'm not worried about the feathers because I'm going to get clean. And the other thing, so, you know, you get in here, make a couple small cuts in here, and then you can just peel this thing off. Let me move my hand so that you can see. You know, get those cuts and kind of work it down. Then you get your fingers under here. Essentially just peel that thing right out. Then it gets a little stiff here, and you just cut this sinew out. And just pull it off the skin. That's it. Minus the feathers, but they come off pretty easy when you rinse it. That's what it'll look like. I mean, bigger the dove breast, you know, it's good meat. So go ahead and do that to the rest of it. So same thing, go ahead and turn around, give you a better view. Just work that breastbone. There you go. Probably should have peeled that skin back first, but if you don't peel that skin back first, I'll show you what you can do. It peels right off. So you work down in there. Make those few little cuts down there on those ligaments so that it'll come off when you're done. There it is. Then you can just, that skin that's stuck on it, you turn it inside out. You just peel it right out. And the skin will just stay where it's at. Again, it's a lot tougher than you know, other birds as far as the skin goes. Let me take that sinew, but there you go. Another full breast thing. Gonna get rinsed. All right, let's just keep on going. It's only gonna get faster. If you need some Halloween costume feathers, there are plenty of them. You know, if I was in a hurry to get these things in the freezer, I'd be taking my time and I'd get more feathers off, but I'm gonna go rinse these things out and get them all cleaned up, cut out some of the tough parts, and then, you know, essentially get them ready to cook. Alrighty, so there I go. I got enough feathers that I'm comfortable with going in. Little things everywhere. Work my way down that little breastbone again. Essentially get my fingers under there. Just peel it off until I get to where you gotta get the knife out again to take it off the rest of that thick stuff. Get your hand underneath there between that skin and that meat, and then peel it right on out. Just like that. Super easy. And then the other alternative method, if you want to, like I showed you earlier, like got a BB in there. You take this skin here, just peel it right on back. Work it down like a turkey breast. Expose all that meat. And just work the breastbone. Just slide your fingers in there and literally just work it right down. Peel that thing right out. There we go. Covered in feathers. Hard to see, but it's going to be good once I rinse it. Alright, well that pretty much concludes the cleaning part of this. But if you've ever cleaned any type of bird, any type of game bird, and you're just trying to breast them out, that's all I'm really doing. There is considerable meat on the legs if you've got time and you want to do that. I'm not doing it for this video, but they're like little mini chicken legs, like little drumsticks, and they cook just well and they taste just as fine. So got a good bit of meat here I got to take and go clean up real quick. But I'm going to go ahead and get all these feathers and all this scraps thrown into a trash bag before this door gets opened up and then blows feathers everywhere. And then I'm going to throw these carcasses in the freezer until trash day, and then I'll throw a block of ice into the trash can. So I'll catch y'all in a little bit. Next time you see me, we'll be in the kitchen. See y'all tomorrow. Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome to the kitchen. It's a lot nicer than the garage. I know you might notice that I'm missing a few knives there in the dishwasher, but I've got the one that counts. Alright, so here's what we're going to do today. So those breasts that you saw me pop out of those crows and just before this is what's in this mixing bowl here. Now, they're pretty good size. You know, they're bigger than a dove breast. They're probably closer to a wood duck size. So I'm going to have to slice these things up, and I'll probably be able to get, you know, this into multiple peppers. But the peppers I got were pretty dang big because the only jalapenos they had at the store were in the bags. They were out of the individual stuff that I usually grab them by the handful. So these things are huge. So it might actually take, you know, half of a breast to fill up one of these jalapenos, but we're about to find out. So if you've never made jalapeno poppers, I'm from Texas, we originally call them armadillo eggs, but in South Carolina everybody calls them jalapeno poppers. Super simple. You can either just use jalapenos, cream cheese, and bacon, or you can do jalapeno, cream cheese, bacon, and another meat that you put inside the cheese. So in this case it's going to be the crow. If you've never had crow, I highly recommend you try it. It is delicious. So if you've ever heard the term eating crow, it's somebody must have had some bad crow. Maybe they were eating a buzzard. I don't know. I've never had a buzzard. But crow is very good. It's a good meat. It's a good hearty red meat. It's almost like venison in the sky. So give it a whirl. See if you like it. But what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut the angles and get a little bit closer so that you can see what I'm actually working on. So stand by, and then the next thing you're going to see is going to be a nice pretty angle. All right. First thing you need to do with these peppers, essentially cut them right down the middle, because then you got to gut them. I'm going to take this core here, just run it out. That was pretty thick, so hopefully the other ones aren't so bad. Now a lot of people say you got to take the seeds out because it makes the peppers too hot. That's not true. They do add a little bit of heat, but peppers, if they were really got a lot of rain while they were growing up and they were hydrated, that can make them less hot. If they were, just really depends on the genetics of the pepper. So if you leave a few seeds in here, that's not what's going to make the pepper hot and burn everybody's mouth. So, all right. So what you can't see is I'm over here. I've got a little bucket for the scraps that I'm dropping all the seeds and stuff in, so that they're not all really on top. Yep, just core these things out, and if you can, you kind of want to leave an end on it so that cream cheese, if it gets too hot, it doesn't run out. That's what I've got over here. I'm just tapping it to knock the peppers out. And I'll just move it right here. So for any of you that are like me at a party and there's jalapeno poppers and you eat them by, well, as many as you can get, it's easy to make, but it's a considerable amount of work. Each one gets its own little bit of love and attention, so be appreciative for whoever brings them. And if you can't get all this little husk out like that, it's fine. Just make sure you get enough out. It softens up once you get it in the oven. And these got a surprisingly thick husk, or whatever it's called on the inside of peppers. Alright, so now I'm going to use some time lapse, speed this thing up so that you don't have to watch me do this to every one of these. Alright, so now what we're going to do for these crow breasts, since they're pretty good size, we're going to see about how I need to make cuts on them to get them into these peppers. So as you can see, here's one, got some seeds on it because I hadn't reached over and there's seeds stuck to my hand. But as you can see, these crow breasts are pretty good size compared to these peppers. So just to give you a comparison, that's a pretty good size breast. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, because these peppers are all fairly uniform, is I'm just going to cut these things into thirds. I could probably get 2 in each pepper. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and start dicing up these crow breasts. Then I'm gonna get them back in the container and start mixing them with some salt and pepper. So we'll just go through this real quick. And you can see, look at the meat. That is a good clean meat. So if you're hesitant on eating them, I mean, hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you're bored and watching this while you're laying in bed and decide, man, I'm gonna go out and hunt some crows. I read somewhere that there's a huge population of crows in the US, somewhere in the 25-30 million range. It's pretty sizable population. So if you go take a few out of the food chain, I don't think it's going to hurt anything. And if you're looking at my fancy knife, this is the fanciest kitchen knife I have, and I only have one of this brand. And it is well worth it. Alright, that's the last of the breast. Alright, so all I'm going to do for these, I'm going to rinse out this bowl that I had them in. And it's very, very simple. Alright, so what I'm going to do for these is very, very simple. I'm not trying to cover the flavor of the meat. The meat tastes fine. But I do want to give it some seasoning because it is going to go into a pepper. So I just do a little bit of salt. Not a lot. I don't use a lot of salt. And then a little bit of pepper. Again, not a lot. And then I've got some of this. I could just get some olive oil and pour it in here, but I'm just going to spray a little bit on top and mix it around. You don't need a lot of olive oil for this because you're going to be putting it in a side of pepper, you know, with some cream cheese. Alright. Now while those sit, we're going to go ahead and start prepping the peppers. Let me rinse this cutting board off since I'm about to put the peppers back on it. Alright, let's go ahead and bring some of these peppers out, and then we're going to bring in the star of the show next to the crow. And that's the cream cheese. Seems like everything you put cream cheese in, doesn't matter if it's cheese dip or chili or whatever you're using it for, it is delicious. So if you want to make your life a little bit easier with the cream cheese, leave it setting out for a little bit to get to room temp. It gets a lot softer, it's a little easier to work with. Oh, that seems to be a little stiff today. Just gonna have to do a little persuasion. Let's see if it'll go. There it goes. Okay, so this cream cheese has been sitting out enough so it's a little softer for room temp. This makes it 100 times easier if you do it this way. Otherwise, it's like putting, you know, peanut butter in the fridge and trying to spread it on bread. So once it's nice and soft, you can take it however you want to do it. Just scoop it into your pepper. Just smear it in there. You can use the back of a spoon if you want to. That way you don't get that up front like I did. That's the pro tip there. Thought I was scooping into some jelly for a second. And you just want to get these peppers all filled up. Some people do one at a time. They'll do cream cheese, then they'll add the meat, then they'll wrap it with bacon. I prefer to do all these at once. Knock this step out. What do we have here? Some delicious bacon. Alright, so this bacon is What you really want to go for is thin cut. This is what I had picked it up last time I was in North Carolina. And it's really good bacon, so that's what I'm using it for. But because it's so thick, rather than use a whole piece, or try to use the whole piece, I'm just going to go ahead and cut it in half. And that should give me, you know, half a piece for each pepper. So here's where all the fun comes together. And then you need some toothpicks. I'll just pop that cap off and get some of these out. Alright, probably have to throw all those away since I touched them with raw pork on my fingers. Alright, so here we go. This is the time consuming part, not spreading the cream cheese, but making these three things play nice together. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to essentially see how I slice these things, and it looks like, well, for this pepper that was a good piece. I'm just going to go ahead and take this, give it a wrap. So there's a whole method to this that some people are really big into. For me, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to try to pin it in the middle, but just want to go over the top and then wrap it. As long as you get some overlap, you can stick a toothpick right in there in the middle. It'll hold that bacon on there. I'm going to go ahead and stick that off screen. I've got a non-stick pan off screen, but I'm going to go ahead and spray it with some olive oil just for good measure. I'm going to go ahead and move this to the pan that is going in the oven. Let's see, there you go. There's it's not focusing. Close-up look at what it's going to look like. You just want that toothpick to sit on the bottom. You don't need to push it all the way through where it's like this, unless you're putting it on a grill. In this case, I'm not putting it on a grill. It's just going to go in the oven. I want it to stand up as straight as it possibly can. Alright, let's keep on going. That's a big piece there. Give it a wrap. And again, I just look for that one little bit of overlap for that bacon, just so that toothpick will hold it together. Push it through, feel it hit the cutting board, and move it to the pan. A big boy pepper there. Might take 2. Oh, maybe not. So while this is going on, the oven has been preheated to 400 degrees. These are going to cook at 400 degrees for 25 minutes, and then I'm going to move them, set them up next to the broiler for a short amount of time just to get that bacon extra crispy. So as you can see, anybody that makes these jalapeno poppers and they bring them to your party, you can see how much work goes into it if you've never made them before. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward and get to the end of this thing so y'all don't have to watch me individually wrap these, because I'm sure it's as fun as watching paint dry. So here we go. Okay, so that was pretty much the quick down and dirty. Here's the end result here. So what I'm going to do, because this bacon's pretty thick, I'm probably going to put them in there for 25 minutes and check on them, but more than likely it's going to need 30 minutes and then, you know, a few seconds under the broiler to get it really crispy. If it was a thinner bacon, 25 minutes would suffice. But let's go ahead and throw these things in the oven real quick. Set the timer. And I'll see y'all when they're done. So I'll be back in this. Okay, well, the poppers are done. They got 30 minutes. The bacon was a little fatty, it's a little thicker than what I normally use. So 25 minutes, I checked on them. Could have been better. And I decided to do another 5 minutes and then finish them off under the broiler. What you got to be careful with when you're doing anything under the broiler is it's usually 500 degrees, so you can start a grease fire if you're not paying attention because grease will flash at 500 degrees. So hit these things for a good bit. And they look like they're going to be delicious. I'm not going to take a bite of them now. They just came out of the oven. I'm going to let these things rest for a good minute. But let me see if I can show you an up close with that. Well, let me bring another camera in and cut to that angle. Then I'll show you what they look like up close. So give me just a second. So here's what they look like. Now if I had done it on the grill, it would have been a little bit better, but did in the oven and used a fairly thick and fatty bacon. So the bacon's cooked all the way through. It's not going to be extra crispy, but they're still going to be delicious. Well, that concludes the video. So if you enjoyed it, if you stuck around, thanks for watching. And this is what came out of it. So if anybody ever tells you to eat crow, tell them you did, and it was delicious. Thanks for watching.